All right. Morning. Enthusiasm is extremely overwhelming today. First of all, I just really want to thank you guys for coming out today. I know it's really early in the morning. I know a lot of you guys have Wednesdays off, which usually means Tuesday nights are spent day I know a lot of you guys come from like 1 or 2 hours away, so I know it's quite a struggle for you guys. If it makes you feel any better, I hurt my back really bad last week, so my commute felt like 2 hours too. So let me just go ahead and briefly introduce myself. My name is Min. I'm the manager of Training Center. You guys probably have seen me just walking around the 5th floor of the Texon building. I guess I was understanding that a lot of you guys just naturally made your way over to the Training Center. Okay, so it's good that everyone found their way down over here. My co-presenter, actually it's kind of weird to call my co-presenter. He's like my boss's boss, like the third or fourth power, something like that. But anyways, it's actually a privilege to share the stage with him today because, not only is he the head of our division, but also he's actually one of the core class designers for the 3.0 program. So a lot of the content that you're about to utilize during next term, he's actually one of the masterminds behind it. And he's actually going to come up and just talk about just education technology, the current trend of education, and also what role Cheongdam plays and what role we as instructors play as well. So let's just give a round of applause for Thomas Kim.
First of all, so what's weird for me is that for the past 4 or 5 years or so, ever since I came to Cheongdam HQ, somewhere along the line, I actually started doing a lot of the presentations in Korean. I've been living in Korea for about 8 years now. So of course, my English has gotten worse, and definitely, so I used to do this like 6, 7 years ago. I used to do all the instructor workshops and so on. So this was something that I was very comfortable doing, but can you tell I'm really nervous right now? I'm like literally shaking. I do this regularly with Korean people all the time these days, but I haven't done this with, I guess, a Westerner or English speakers, so please bear in mind. Anyway, so yes, my name is Thomas. Actually, I just wanted to kind of get a gauge of, I guess, how far you're coming from, because I feel, obviously, we always feel bad that, we can only have, these workshops at certain locations, right? So can we try to outdo each other? To throw out amount of time it actually took for you to get here this morning.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Where are you coming from?
Oh, Pyeongtaek.
Pyeongtaek, hour and a half. Can somebody outdo Pyeongtaek? Okay.
Well, not really. An hour and a half from Chuncheon.
Okay, so same thing. Right? Anyone else? I'm sorry, not two. I'm looking for maybe an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours.
2.5 hours.
Yes, back there.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Where?
Jeonju.
Jeonju, okay. KTX hour, right? Oh, plus, okay, yes. So you do have the KTX option. Yes. Okay. So anyone, okay, 2.5 hours. That's pretty, yeah. Anyone else? So obviously this one we're actually having a Daejeon and, not Daejeon also, but Daegu and Busan workshop as well. So obviously we don't have those people from the far off regions. Anyways, I'm rambling on because I'm nervous. Hopefully I'll get started. By the way, any idea why I played that Bill Gates? By the way, how many people have seen that video prior to coming to this workshop? A few of you, or at least 4 or 5 or so. Basically, any idea why I would actually play that video? So, David, right? Yes. David, or you haven't seen it? Michael? You've seen it? You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
So, actually, because I could tell maybe most people weren't paying attention until last 2 minutes. For whatever reason, the room sort of quieted down and everyone started watching last 2 minutes. But any guess why I would actually play this video?
I remember in training 3 years ago.
Yes, I do. That's why I called you. David, Michael, I remember you from training back in Ulsan a while back. But any guess on why I played this video?
Technology.
right, hopefully. So I guess maybe one thing is this. I guess I want to say that maybe, so I always sort of struggle with this kind of stuff. I mean, I was a type of teacher that was known for preparation, over preparation. So I remember people used to make fun of me because I was that guy who used to prep 5 hours for bridge reading. It was like a big joke. Thomas prepped 5 hours for bridge reading. What kind of idiot, right? So, a lot of it really has to do with the fact that I really hope that this workshop is sort of beneficial, right? Because I know how hard it is. I mean, imagine waking up, how early, sorry sir, what's your name by the way? Huh? Jonathan, so how early did you have to wake up? 6 in the morning. See, I mean, I have to feel compassion towards Jonathan because I literally walk like 5 minutes to work, so, obviously, but I hopefully, right, I would like to think that this is somewhat relevant for you, right, and I'm not sure if I could actually make it worthwhile 2.5-hour trip, right, but hopefully you will get something out of this meeting today, right, so I'll just go straight into it. So yes, the key thing I guess I want to sort of point out, even Bill Gates, he understands education is the place to be, to an extent. So hopefully we could collectively come to that conclusion by the end of the presentation. Okay, so looks familiar? Can you guess what web page? It's LinkedIn, right? Let's do another guessing game. Any idea why I would actually start with a LinkedIn page of some random person? By the way, this is one of my contacts. I didn't want to use my own, so I just talked to somebody else. Yes, sir.
If I could guess, would it be because you're trying to choose teachers based on what skills they have?
Possibly. So maybe for the future, maybe we're going to actually certain fields are actually going to be a little more relevant. Possibly, right? So just to kind of give you a little bit of background, so our FHR actually, so just to kind of gauge, can you guess how many teachers we have within the Cheongdam system? Let's throw in some random numbers. 1,000, pretty close. Up, we need to go up a little more.
1,200.
1,200, getting closer, we need to go up. 1,400. Who's it? Your name, sir? Yes, you're exactly correct. By the way, where are you from? Ireland, okay, of course. So yeah, exactly. That is the number that I actually heard from head of FHR today. So we have 1,400 teachers across the nation, right? That's actually including April as well. Can you guess how much of that 14% actually did, like, so let's actually talk about turnover, right? So we know that this is a transient industry, right? So most of us are seeing this merely as a job, right? So it's sort of a temporary job to sort of experience different culture. You're just looking for something different, so you came to Korea to experience this. Can you guess like the percentage of people in terms of turnover, yearly turnover?
80%.
80%. Okay, so I think maybe that's a little more relevant for franchises. So I think the turnover is a little less in the branch level. So overall branch and franchises together is about 50%. So out of the 1,400 people, so I can guarantee that literally if I hold this workshop a year later, half of you will be somewhere else in the world, right? Back at home or wherever it may be, right? So, I was just actually thinking about this page where, like, this LinkedIn page and so on, and then what can we provide you, right? So, of course, some of us actually choose this as a career, right? And we do this for a long, long time. For example, I've been teaching for close to 20 years now, right? And this is my career. But for, I guess, majority of us, right, 90%, that's just not the case, right? So, up until now, basically all we could actually provide you were these 3 words, possibly. So minimally, you're going to have the ESL teaching. Literally, thing is your skill or expertise that you gained from teaching in Korea or Cheongdam for a year or so, year or 2 possibly, right? And maybe, within your system, you became like a HI or FM, so then you get to actually teacher training, right? Possibly. And maybe because you are actually managing those people, you could actually write down the word management as well. So these are some of the keywords here. So actually, I think the big question mark for us is that, can we actually add something else, right, to that? So hopefully add a little more value, because I do think that, I remember last time we checked, we actually checked the average age of teachers. typically, I think a lot of them actually graduate somewhere between 2010 through 2013. And I think current new instructors, they're coming in like literally, they're born in 1991 or something. It's absolutely crazy, mind-boggling for me because that's when I graduated high school. I was like, oh wow. Right, so, anyways, sorry, as I mentioned, I tend to ramble, so hopefully I'll get to the point. Right? And by the way, I'm going to pass it on to Min sooner than later, so you just have to bear with me for a little bit. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background of what we've been doing. We've been working on this 3.0 project for close to over a year now. Okay, and back in June of this year, me and a number of people actually got to go to San Antonio for this huge convention. Has anyone heard of ISTE? So as you can see from the title, International Study for Technology and Education. This actually is held every year, and this is a huge organization for teachers, right? So obviously, because of the relevance of technology, there's the natural merger of the two, right? So just to kind of give you an idea of the scale of this, I guess, conference, there were about 20,000 people that were in San Antonio, right? And Microsoft gave away 16,000 Surface tablet for free. So I actually went there and walked away with the tablet. All I had to do was just sign a piece of paper, and they gave me a $500 tablet. Right? So it kind of gives the idea in terms of how most companies actually feel about the education industry in general. Right? That there's actually a lot, right? They can actually do with the education industry, and hopefully we could give you something more, right? Because as you can see here, so we actually share a booth with Samsung. So as you can see, we have a small little booth on the corner, but that was actually part of the Samsung station. So you're probably wondering, how did actually Cheongdam actually get involved in Samsung? Because somebody as rich and large as Samsung, they could probably do their own thing, right? Why would they actually come to us? And that kind of, and hopefully I could actually relate that to sort of like the strengths of what we have. So Samsung actually has been doing something called Global Flagship Classroom for, I believe, a year or so now. Okay, so I think they hit about 25 countries. Right? Can you guess what happened with the Global Flagship, I guess, classroom? Have you heard of it, by the way? Right, there's a reason why you haven't heard of it. Complete failure. Right, so just to, I'm just being honest here. You can do the video tape and this Samsung is fine. So what actually happened was one example was that like they actually went to Memphis. Right? So I think what they did was they gave all these teachers like the latest, whatever, smart television, gave every student tablet, PC, whatever, like a tab, right? And what else they actually give them? They was like, oh, by the way, and here's an authoring tool. It's like the iBooks author. Right? Can you guess what happened after a month of experimentation? They're like, you know what? Look like I don't know what to do with it. Right? What do you think the problem lies? Oh, no. I mean, possibly. Maybe that was the glitch. I have no idea. Right? I think so. Basically, what it comes. Yes.
I think they probably gave them all the tools, but didn't show them how to use them.
Right. So that's the biggest problem here. Like, remember, because what people don't realize is that, or like non-teachers, right? Because you can actually put the fanciest computers and the technology equipment doesn't actually turn a class into a better class. You know what I mean? So what we actually noticed is, for example, IST, obviously pretty much every single company is there, all technology companies there. So typically there are actually two types that we actually noticed there. So one type is obviously companies like Scala. You can actually see like some of the companies like Scholastic here, you name it, McGraw-Hill, all the big publishers are there. And basically what they're doing right now is they're just turning everything into EPUB. Basically it's just like a PDF version of whatever paperbook they actually have. They're trying to convert everything. So that's actually one type, right? The other type is actually companies like Samsung. They're trying to provide a solution. So whether there's actually tablet PC that's connected to the teacher, whatever thing, and so on, right? But everyone's running into the exact same problem, right? Everyone's running into the same exact problem. Just because a paper book turns into a digitized book doesn't mean it's actually better for the classroom. So like, for example, let's say, if you look at the iBooks, right? So remember when it first was released, that fancy one with the life science one, right? It's just a really nice, fancy book. But it doesn't, so I guess it would actually help children. I have something like some interactive tools. But that doesn't actually necessarily turn into a better class. right? So same thing with the idea. So you give all these latest technology to teachers, it doesn't mean that every teacher will know what to do with it. Like think about the idea of being given an authoring tool. Basically, they're asking you to create a curriculum on your own. Right? And how many of us are sort of capable of doing that? Right? So, and that's basically where sort of we come in. Right? Where we come in is in terms of curriculum design. Of course, it's not perfect, but what we're trying to do is bring everything together. We're trying to sort of merge technology and basically our curriculum into one. Right? And in some ways, we feel like we're getting closer. Right? We're actually sort of systematically sort of embed our pedagogy into the smart textbook. So hopefully, we're able to share our teaching know-how, right, with everyone that's actually in the system. Okay, so let's go a little further here. Hopefully, this is something that will be helpful for you in the future as well. So these are some of the things that actually are being talked about. So we were there for about 4 days, right? All these different companies and so on here. And these are some of the basic things that are basically hot in the education industry at the moment, right? So especially for those of you actually who are considering, career in education, right? Or at least contemplating on it, right? These are things actually would be sort of helpful. So as you can see, some of the keywords that are here, project-based learning. Anyone actually heard? So obviously, we've been doing CTP for a while, right? So we call these things projects. Any idea what's the difference between project versus project-based learning? Because that's what's hot right now. I mean, I guess you could just read from it, right? So so basically, the key thing is that maybe usually typical projects or CTPs, all you really sort of focus on is the fact that actual output, you just focus on the output, right? But project-based learning is actually what actually output does for students is actually give some sort of objective, right? And based on that, hopefully there's some sort of learning that taking sort of place. Because there's no way you're gonna have amazing CTP output twice a week, right? But focusing more on the actual learning element, right? Utilizing the advantages of what project can actually do for us, right? And these are some of the things actually we have here. So it's just like whatever lingos and so on. So we can just actually go on to the big players right now. So in terms of education industry, there's like two big players. So how familiar are we with what's going on with Apple and some of these other companies? So how many people are actually generally sort of interested in the education technology? Anybody? Okay, so a number of people here. Can you sort of share with us what do you know about what's actually going on in education right now, especially related to technology? Yes?
My mom's school, she's a teacher from Vallejo,
Uh-huh.
in California.
Uh-huh.
And her school just got awarded some tablets
Uh-huh.
by the state. So, I mean, it's a big step forward for especially for kids.
Right, so I believe, so especially the LA project, I believe it's $1 billion contract. So Apple signed $1 billion contract. So this is more specifically with the LA Unified School District. But whatever this contract is actually literally worth $1 billion, they actually signed, right? But so thinking about, but do you know what actually happened? What's the current status of what's going on with Apple and LA School Unified District? So literally, so this happened not long ago. Remember, this contract was signed in June, right? We're talking like whatever, 4 or 5 months ago, right? Literally in September, so literally last month, what happened was little thing happened. So I think one of the iPads actually, so basically, students actually get to take the iPad home, but they put some sort of lock on it so they can't play games and so on. Of course, our students, what are they able to do? They can hack it, right? I mean, but is that surprising though? Being a teacher, is that surprising? No way, right? But apparently because of that, they're literally putting a hold on the whole thing. And you think about this, they spent $1 billion, right? They signed $1 billion contract, they're like, oh my God, kids hacked into the iPad, they're actually playing video games on iPad. Right, which is kind of silly in some ways, because if you think about it, they play video game on other consoles or computer, but is it not okay to play on this pad? Right? But of course, a lot of it has to do with sort of backlash from the parents and so on here. They're like, oh, we don't want to deal with all these parents complaining about this educational pad that we pass out to students. They're using it to play game and so on. So I guess the point we're trying to get to is that everyone's trying. Everyone knows that there's a lot to be done here in education technology, but even Apple, they haven't sort of figured out what to do, right? And it's actually a sort of big challenge, big task, big homework for all of us in a way, right? Another one, how many people have heard of Amplify? Never? Okay, so I'm gonna actually play, it sounds kind of funny that I'm actually promoting this other company, but just to kind of give you a background, because basically they're the biggest player right now in education technology. So I'm going to play a little clip for you. Okay, can you play?
Most U.S. 8th graders, 2/3 in fact, aren't rated proficient in reading or math.
American students are behind the rest of the world. They rank 23rd in science and 32nd in math.
A quarter of U.S. high schoolers don't graduate, which means the U.S. ranks 21st in the world of graduation.
Real education spending per student has more than doubled over the last 30 years. What results have remained flat.
It's a tragedy when a child comes into school full of curiosity about the world and gets somehow lost in the system.
Education now is the great civil right. If we want to create a society based on quality of opportunity, then we need to really dramatically change how we educate young people so that they all have a chance to be successful.
Right now, we have a model with one teacher, 25 or 30 kids, and a textbook. We've been locked in to this model for over 150 years now.
If a kid lives in a world where everything around them is about their ability to communicate with one another and teaching and learning doesn't have the same dynamics, of course that system's going to fail.
Kids today are forced using all sorts of different devices and media to interact, and then when they show up at school, they have to turn them on. We're interested in what happens when they don't turn them on. The thing that makes this country economically so powerful is our commitment to innovation. You know, the Googles and the Apples and the Facebooks and the Twitters, and we can bring that same dynamic, innovative spirit to education.
There are moments of real excellence in every classroom and in every school, but sometimes there are moments instead of a sustained signal of powerful learning. And I think what Amplify is about is capturing those moments, figuring out how to spread them to other teachers, to other classrooms, and figuring out how to sustain them.
And here there's a new category which is focused on kind of adventure quests. Our role in the Amplify project is to look at the needs and motivations and behaviors around primarily middle school students, but also parents and teachers. We spend a lot of time finding the balance of motivation whilst not getting in the way of the learning. There's still a lot to learn about it, but the only way to do that is to constantly experiment and to put it in front of kids.
So how do you play some sort of computer game in some of your classes? Today, we're going to look at a couple of things on a tablet, and I'm going to get some feedback so that we can bring it back into the designs as we're creating a new curriculum for next year.
So we're focused on 3 specific areas. One, building a curriculum that is unlike anything that's gone before. Second is distribution. What are the platforms and devices that are going to be used in schools in the future? And the third is the data and analytics. So a teacher can see the gap between where each of her different students are and where they need to be. And if learning is focused on that gap, that's when it's most effective.
It's not that teachers should have to learn more about technology. It's that technology needs to learn more about teachers.
The real quality comes with the teacher guiding you through technology. If we create that platform that really has the rigorous data and analytics capabilities, and you combine that with new delivery systems, it's a whole new solution that the sector's never seen.
We call it Amplify for a reason. So at every level of the educational enterprise, we want to amplify, to empower teachers, to improve instruction, to get parents more involved in their kids' education. I see a world in which each kid is essentially getting his or her own instruction at her own pace and tailored to that child's needs. We expect it to be a long road. It's just not an easy problem to solve.
Well, Amplify has the commitment, the vision, and the resources. We cannot do this alone.
We feel like education is a constant conversation about how we can do better.
So if you're a teacher or an administrator, come and share your knowledge with us.
We want people to push back. We want to hear what works, what doesn't work, because we can't get better if we're not hearing the straight truth about it.
And I'm hoping our website plays part of the role in making this discussion much much more dramatic, and let a little controversy in. That's okay too, because that's the way you stimulate and that's the way you grow. That's what innovation is all about, and that's what's been sorely missing in K-12 education.
So it is a little odd for me to play somebody else's advertisement, but basically when we're in San Antonio, what we realized is that there's only 2 companies that are actually providing what we call the comprehensive solution. As I mentioned before, everyone's either just providing a platform or they're just providing content, right? So basically, even when we're actually there, can you go to the next page for me? All right. Literally, Amplify and Cheongdam were the only ones that actually provided comprehensive, right? So curriculum that actually is embedded into the platform, right? So, and that kind of gives you an idea too. How many people actually read this article? I think it appeared, I believe, like about a month ago, less than a month ago, I guess, right? On New York Times regarding, what Amplify is actually doing all around the country, right? So, just to give you a little bit of background regarding Amplify, and this will kind of give you an idea of why a lot of people are actually taking education seriously. This is basically a bastard child of News Corp, right? So Rupert Murdoch's News Corp and AT&T. So those two actually put their resources together to create this company, right? So, and I don't know how many people actually follow Amplify on LinkedIn, but they're like hiring like crazy because they're literally trying to hit up every school district around, at least definitely in the US and into different parts of the world as well. But even for somebody like, if you're thinking about News Corp and AT&T, they haven't all figured this out either. So here, same issue here. Can you go to the next page for me? It's not working for some reason. All right. So even this literally just happened about a week ago, less than a week ago, I guess, right? So apparently what happened was that one of the child's actually tablet melted down. So this is another, $30 million project they're putting a halt. Because there was apparently a little bit of defect with the actual tablet. Because actually the tablet is actually, so Amplify, for example, they actually make their own tablet. It's actually made by a company called Asus. I'm sure you've heard of it, right? They make computers and so on. Right, so, and there's like almost like a panic attack just because like one little malfunction, right? So, you're probably wondering, so why are we doing this, right? Because basically we're all trying to kind of do this together, right? We all feel that this is what needs to happen, but we're all trying to sort of figure out, right, what's the best way to kind of go about it, right? And based on what we actually seen, right? Because literally we just assume like, oh my God, these companies have so much more money and resource, right? There's no way that we can actually compete with these people. But the fact that up to that conference, we actually are working on a project with Brazil, we're actually working on a number of different projects with Japan and so on. We literally have something that we feel that of value, right? And other companies are actually seeing it as well, right? And basically it's actually a chance for you to sort of be involved in it, right? And hopefully this is where I can actually make the connection for you. Can you go to the next page first? But before I actually go to where the connection is, this is like literally the current status, right? So I just saw it this morning, and I just decided to share. So Wall Street Journal basically is sort of talking about literally what happened. So they talk about how Apple, by the way, one thing to keep in mind, Wall Street Journal, any idea who owns Wall Street Journal? News Corp, right? So the company that owns Amplify also owns Wall Street Journal. So it's funny how they call it, they specify Apple tablets, Apple iPad, but they say other tablets. They don't actually say Amplify, right? But it's just something to keep in mind. But so, for example, it actually talks about the fact that Apple did actually literally sign this $1 billion contract, right? But at least for Unified District, it's like they don't know what to do with it at this point, right? So everyone's sort of looking for a solution, and we're basically asking everyone actually here to sort of get involved in it as well as literally what the video is actually talking about here, right? All the actual feedback and so on, right? From all of you that are actually here, it's going to be absolutely crucial for us to sort of refine and truly make this a complete product, right? That does what we intended, right? Let's go to the next page. And hopefully this actually kind of leads back to sort of the key point here regarding the whole idea of education technology, right? So this was an article that was actually written a while back, not that long ago, so April of this year, regarding the whole education technology here. So just to sort of summarize what the author is actually saying about education technology is that in the past, there were literally two sort of pathways that you actually had, right? So either all you care about is money, right? Then you really have to go into sort of investment banking or something, right? Your focus is or hedge funding, whatever it may be, to sort of make money. Versus if you choose to do the good deed, right? For example, let's say you go to a social work or you go into education and so on. There's never going to be sort of financial, I guess, benefit from it as well, right? At least the argument that's actually out there is actually writers trying to make is actually possibly, I'm not saying it is, possibly you could actually do both, relatively speaking, right? And that's sort of the, I guess, the merit behind possibly what education technology can actually provide for us. Let's go to the next page. So basically, this is basically the conclusion I kind of wanted to get to, and this is something that I've always wanted to. It was sort of the unfortunate aspect of, I guess, what happens for most teachers that actually experience Cheongdam system. Can you go to the next one? So I always sort of like I've been working here for about 8 years or so, and I've seen all types of sort of young people go through this whole system, right? And what was sort of unfortunate is that. What was actually unfortunate for me, or to see what actually happened to a lot of people, there was sort of a, what we call, I guess, resume hole, right? And that's something that I feel like a lot of young people don't really understand, right? So typically, I think staying for about a year, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Like, so whatever you go on to do next, right? Usually that 1 year in Korea, it's not gonna really hurt you. Oh, that's cool, right? You experienced a different culture, you were teaching, you were doing some good work and so on, right? But once they actually get past like a year, 2-3 years, it literally does become a resume hole, right? From foreign company, because they will never understand what really goes on, right? Can you guess what most people would think of when you actually say if you taught English in, let's say, some foreign country? What do they imagine that you're doing? You're teaching? Huh? Vacation? Sure. But more like, they're probably thinking you're probably teaching phonics. So you could say, oh, I was a math teacher or whatever. But all these people are like, what does that actually mean to me? Right? So we think that we are able to sort of possibly give you a little more. Because, that's why I feel like there's something to sort of take away from what Teach for America does for a lot of young people, and also what Peace Corps does for a lot of young people. I remember a lot of people that were especially like prepared for med school and so on, but they didn't have the correct GPA or MCAT scores. What they usually do is they go to Peace Corps for a couple of years, and that definitely sort of boosts up their resume to help them for whatever, for example, like medicine or something, right? Or maybe law school. All these things actually sort of helps. And what we're actually hoping for, next page, possibly, right? This is what we are hoping. So the key thing to remember is this. Right now, typically, what we were only able to provide with the 2.0 is that you have taught ESL, right? So that doesn't hurt, right? So ESL industry actually definitely is pretty big in the States and other places as well, right? But what you basically are going to have after having done this for a little bit of time, you'll be the first ones to actually have experienced education or get smart learning in classroom, right? So because of the fact that everyone is still at the pilot stage for most companies, whether it's Amplify or Apple, all these companies, they're still pilot testing and trying to figure out what is actually going to work, right? So let's say a year later or 6 months later, after having taught it in this kind of context, right? That's going to be valuable for you, for those who are actually sort of maybe considering different things. And hopefully, we're hoping that we could actually provide you that extra option, that it wasn't just that you taught ESL, right? But also something to do with this whole idea of using technology in the educational context, right? So, as I mentioned earlier before, we don't assume that we got it all figured out, right? We're constantly sort of refining things to sort of make it work, right? And it will be extremely important for us to sort of get your feedback, and that's what we already have, Google Plus community for all that's actually teaching 3.0 at the branch level. And obviously we're going to invite everyone in there, and you can actually post all your videos and complaints or whatever, ideas and so on, right? So we can actually truly make a product that actually delivers what it actually is intended to do. Okay? All right. Thank you.